Hello and welcome to the Ohio Arts Council's Riffe Gallery. Today we're going to have a look at It's an Honor to Be Here, curated by Madeline, Beaumier and Maria Burke. Madeline, Maria, tell us a little bit about this exhibition. You were accepted in the curatorial proposal call that we put out for the Ohio Arts Council. How did this show come together?
So we were working for you together here, being preparators, installing the shows, and parking's awful, so Maria used to park at my house and we'd walk together, and it gave us like 20 minutes in the morning and in the evening to get to know each other and
kind of talk about our work experience.
Exactly, and also just do the thing that you do in these spaces where you fantasize about the kind of show you'd build if you ever got the chance to do it.
So both of you have like decades of experience in the curatorial exhibition space. So Maria in formal visual arts exhibition space. Maria, talk a little bit about yours.
Yeah, so my background is in scientific illustration, and I worked at the Naturalists Museum in Cleveland for over a decade in their exhibits department, managing and designing exhibits. So my background is working with, taxidermists and model makers and scientific illustrators and all these folks that are doing work for exhibits that get seen by thousands of people, but they never have their names associated with the work that they do, even though they're fantastic artists. And it was something that I had always wanted to highlight, is some of these folks behind the scenes, along with, just our general accepted nature artists, and kind of bring them together.
So we were also working together at the Decorative Arts Center, and they had a hole in their schedule. They had heard us talking about this show for forever because we were basically planning it from ladder to ladder across the gallery to each other. Gave us the opportunity to do it earlier than we had planned.
And something really fun to note is not only did they do an excellent job in a shorter amount of time, but they received the Best Exhibition of the Year from the Ohio Museum Association, which is a really high honor. So congrats on that.
Oh, thank you. We were very shocked.
Yeah, well, it's all because of the artists.
Yeah,
exactly.
Incredible work.
Exactly. And so we should probably have a look at our artists.
So the first artist we want to talk about is Deb Burke from Ashtabula County. We found her, it was just so much Googling Ohio nature artists for a while. We definitely used the OAC's artist registry, but we found her through a quilting group based around Lake Erie, and I was just immediately fascinated with her work. She uses satellite imagery from the GIS system, the Geographical Information Systems. Just the incredible amount of detail in her work and the way that she uses fabric to interpret such different surfaces. And you really see like the full extent of what you can do with stitching in an incredible way. This piece especially, we didn't get to have it in our first show. It was at Lakeland University at the time, and they had it on display, so we weren't able to borrow it, but we were so excited to be able to bring her back for this show. Her work it married so well with the new artists that we were bringing in. It felt like a great translation point between the first and the second show, and we got to have this piece. So we were really excited about that. Even installing it, we were finding new things in it. She has stitched little fishes into the lake here.
Yeah, they're all throughout, these little stitched silhouettes of fish jumping in and out of the water, and it's something you would never experience unless you were right up close to it.
Yeah, her detail is just amazing, and color palette, and it was just such a great through line between a scientist and an artist that was perfect for what we were looking for this show. We were so excited to work with her, and she was just so lovely to work with too.
So our next artist that we want to feature is Dave Might. Dave comes from the Cincinnati Museum Center, where he's worked for over 3 decades. as an exhibit sculptor and taxidermist. And I met Dave through working in the museum field, and he's a good friend of mine since both of us practice taxidermy. And we really wanted to highlight his work because, again, he's someone who never has his name associated with it. And when talking about this show, Dave had mentioned a long time ago that he had acquired a lion pelt from the Hefner Museum that had been donated. An Ohio woman had had it as a pet and it had passed away. And he had dreamed of taking this lion pelt and creating a lifelike facsimile of a saber-toothed cat, a Smilodon fatalis, which actually did happen to live in Ohio back during the Ice Age. I asked Dave, like, hey, we're doing this exhibit. Do you think you could maybe do it? So he talked to the Hefner Museum and they were all for it. So he spent months and months working on this. He had a skull actually 3D printed that was taken from an original specimen. And he took a traditional commercial lion form that he sculpted heavily and modified heavily to give it the proper dimensions and musculature that a Smilodon would have had, since they're much beefier than an African lion. A fascinating thing about taxidermy that a lot of people don't really consider is the amount of artistry and really traditional art forms that are involved in making a piece like this. For example, Dave is an incredible sculptor, so he's using his sculpting skills to create the underlying mannequin that is underneath the skin. He's also using paints and different kinds of airbrush and brushing techniques to get the color on the nose and around the eyes, the mouth. Every little detail in the mouth has been painted by Dave. And the teeth itself was, he was able to get a digital file that was scanned of a real Smilodon skull and have it 3D printed. So he was able to 3D print it and then carve it down to make it nice and smooth so it looks like real Smilodon teeth. Dave went through and painted all of these little spots on here, since scientists believe that they would have had some of this dappling and rosettes to help them camouflage themselves. And then the fun bit here is Dave had to make a cute little bobtail for our Smilodon, since fossil evidence shows us that they have these short little petite tails. So Dave actually used fur from fox, black bear, and coyote to make that little bobtail that you see there. We're very grateful that he was able to make this for us, and it's quite a sight to see. Our next artist that we want to feature is Samuel James. He is from Adams County, Ohio. And I met Sam actually on a trip down to the edge of Appalachia Preserve, where a group of field biologists were studying the Allegheny wood rat, which most folks don't realize this, but it is the most endangered mammal in the state of Ohio. There's a very, very small population of them living down there in Adams County. And so I was with a group that was studying them, and I met Sam, and he told me, I do a little bit of photography. And after the trip, I went and looked at his work and was just completely blown away with the work that he does. He does a lot of field work with other biologists. He really likes to focus on creatures and animals that are kind of unknown and unrecognized by most folks. This piece, for example, of the Allegheny wood rat, kind of peeking out of its little cave crevice where it lives, was a piece that we definitely wanted to have in the show because of the significance of the creature, and it's just a beautiful piece. And his work farther down there is his work on vernal pools. So vernal pools are like those kind of summer pond wet spaces where frogs and lots of other animals will lay their eggs in the spring, and these creatures just kind of live there. All of them are very, very small, macroscopic, so Sam likes to be able to take these photographs of them to show how beautiful and intricate and just these incredible species that live in these little pools and puddles that we never really pay any attention to. That piece is featuring some wood frog, tadpoles, a fairy shrimp, some carnivorous diving beetles, and a big sort of other critters and fun stuff.
Sam has an extensive body of work that we were able to look through for this exhibit, and we bounced around between a lot of his different pieces and things that he'd focused on, but these pieces really struck out to us compositionally, color-wise, and also the fact that it just kind of builds this little world that you didn't even realize existed in people's own backyards in our own state. They feel abstract, but they're not. They are so specific and real, and it is so ethereal and just kind of takes you out of yourself to realize just everything that we're sharing this world with. So we also wanted to talk about Layla Hill. I was working down at the Springfield Museum of Art on their juried show, which is an amazing opportunity. If you're a member there, you get to show once a year. She's a community member who was a member of the museum and brought in work. I was just so enthralled with this piece when it got brought in. We were still curating for this show and just kind of thinking about what the second iteration was going to look like. But one of the most important things that we wanted to include in the first one and in this one was images of humans. We used a lot of different concepts with how people approach and relate to nature to try to narrow down how we wanted to display this show. And there was this concept of home, like not just Ohio, not just the earth, but like being part of an ecosystem, being part of an environment. And I feel like Lila's work just captured that in a really amazing way. Collaging-wise, it's a lot of found material, reclaimed wood. She just has stores of fabric and paper, and there are a lot of materials like from life, from home, from clothing that was worn 10 years ago, from that scrapbook that you just kind of put aside because you knew it would be useful later, and as well as hand-drawn portraits of people from her family. There's this wonderful piece that we have in this show that it's her grandmother reading to her mother in this field of flowers, and compositionally, the whole piece just holds you. You feel like you were surrounded on all sides with something with
nature.
With nature and with love and with
it feels
belonging.
Looks like a hug.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, there's little pieces of dried flowers and bits of fabric that I'm sure hold meaning, and it's just a really powerful piece about people and nature and remembering our experiences with it.
And the fact that she's using found and recycled materials definitely adds into artists that think about their practice sustainably as well as making work about a sustainable world. It's hard to do both. And we have a couple artists in the show that are reappropriating materials in a way that shows so much respect for not only what they're creating, but how they're creating it. And it echoes back to how we exist in our environment together, and it just makes you feel like you're part of the world.
This has been a Spotlight on the Riffe with the Ohio Channel, featuring the exhibition It's an Honor to Be Here, curated by Madeline, Beaumier, and Maria Burke. Thank you so much for joining us. A big thank you to the Ohio Arts Council's board, the Governor's Office, and the legislature for supporting the Ohio Arts Council, this great space, and of course, Ohio artists.